Manor Farm Waterston here, just outside of Dorchester. The farm here is 450 acres, of which we grow about 200 acres of cereals and the rest is down to grass lays. We're on a predominantly chalk soil of Andover profile. We milk 300 cows in 4 Lady robots. We also run about 250 Pole Dorset ewes, which lamb in the autumn and go to Waitrose. And then, what else have we got? And we keep all our beef animals, which go straight through to slaughter. My name's Chris Goodfellow. I farm here at Manor Farm Waterston. I farm with my partner Emily. Emily's busy feeding calves at the moment. There's lots of different options on robots. Some are guided access and some are free access. We put in robots purely to improve animal health and welfare, and off the back of that, it's basically to remove so much human interaction as in moving animals and more to give freedom to basically to make the animals more happier in their milk production cycle. So we run on a free access system, which basically means cows will travel to the robots as and when they require. The easiest way to compare it is a robot can deliver greed and discomfort. If a cow is hungry, the robot can supply it some food. If a cow is carrying a lot of milk, the robot can remove it of some milk. Both things make them more happy, so they will always travel. The first movement from when you go from an existing parlour to a robot, that is quite hassle-free because they're used to the system and they know they're going to be milked at certain times of the day. You soon get over that phase because you only have that like for the first 9 months basically as you're starting the system. Once you're starting the system, you're only effectively training heifers if you're not buying animals. And heifers literally vary from animal to animal. Some heifers you'll come in and you might bring them in and milk them twice, and that might be the last time you'll have any real interaction with them. And other heifers you might have to put some effort into it for literally for 2 weeks. But normally within 2 weeks they've settled into the system and they're away. Robot requirement for the amount of cows basically depends on the cow's milk production. Each robot is capable of processing 2 tons of milk in a 24-hour period. So you can do that however you cut it. You can cut it by milking a lot of cows giving not much milk, or less cows giving more milk, and then you get more attention to detail with the cows you've got. On our system, we run between 55 to 60 cows per robot, and that basically optimises our free time on the robots and keeps the workload at the right level. On the staffing profile for a robotic farm, the staffing level changes and the type of person changes. You don't need the dairyman to stay in the parlour and bang cups on continuously. You need people that have got the attention to detail and looking at cows whilst out doing bed management and looking at cows. Learning the robots, that purely depends on a farm-to-farm basis, and it really depends on how much, as farmers, we're willing to do the maintenance and the upkeep ourselves, or have the official body that looks after them to come and do the work. I think I still learn stuff about the robots certainly once a week, if not most days, and we're 6 years in now. It's a different type of staff that you need, and I find you can train people more on this system because you haven't got that real mass workload in the morning and you haven't got the mass workload in the afternoon. You end up with more of a level profile of workload throughout the day. Things to consider when even just thinking at the outset of robots and thinking, are they an option for us? Could they work on this farm? Main things to consider are who's going to look after them. The most successful robot farms are ran by the people that are paying for them and basically are writing the checks out for any breakdowns. Things to consider also are you can pretty much shoehorn robots into any system. You should end up with a better way of life. So maybe instead of shoehorning them into some existing buildings, maybe step back and do it in a slower phase process and end up with new buildings and new robots. Basically, the whole system has to be designed around cow flow. Everything else can be built around, but the cows need good access to access the robots. If you need to step back and renew buildings at the same time, step back, take a more in-depth approach basically. Before we consider putting robots in here, we have a 2020 Westphalia parlour that we milked in quite happily for about 10 years. The parlour wasn't particularly outdated when we looked to change to robots. We changed to robots purely to free off people milking and to put the time spent milking into cow management. This is a complete new build behind me here. We did it in a phase section. We did 2 robots, which we managed to get on a grant system, which was available in 2013, which proportionally paid for the first 2. And then we did the first 2, seen the benefits. Our long-term goal was to put 4 in, and then we've done the remaining 2 in a staged phase afterwards. As soon as we started Robot 3, we shut down our traditional parlour, and then we went to a complete robotic system. I'm personally not sure that running a robotic system and a traditional parlour, you get the best of both worlds. I think you either need to 100% embrace robots or not bother with them and just staff a parlour well. So one thing that we've found with running robots, we were on sand cubicle beds before. Sand and robots is not the best combination in the world, just due to extra wear on the robots. But one thing I can definitely say is running well-maintained sand cubicle beds and robots, you will end up with some of the lowest mastitis rates in the country. It just works.